It was supposed to be a routine check. Officer Dana Holt didn't even want the call. It was past 10 p.m. She was 20 minutes from end of shift, and her patrol car's heater had just died in the middle of January. But dispatch had insisted. An anonymous tip had come in. Something about a foul smell, lights on for 3 days straight, and no sign of movement inside the duplex at 72 Cardell Street. She sighed, threw on her jacket, and clicked her radio. Unit 14 responding. The street was quiet when she pulled up. Too quiet for a neighborhood that usually pulsed with life. The porch light was on, flickering slightly, casting long shadows across a pile of unopened mail. She knocked. Once, twice. Police. Welfare check. No response. But the smell hit her then, sweet, metallic, decaying. She knew that smell. Instinct took over. She radioed for backup and drew her weapon. The door creaked open with a gentle push. It wasn't locked. That's never a good sign. What she found inside didn't just make her career. It shattered the city. The house was colder inside than outside. That, in itself, was wrong. Officer Dana Holt kept her left hand on her radio, her right still on her holstered sidearm. Her boots made soft, sticky sounds as they stepped on something tacky on the hardwood floor. She glanced down. Blood, dried and smeared, leading toward the kitchen. Her eyes scanned the living room. It looked like time had stopped mid-step. A cup of tea had shattered on the ground. A child's drawing was taped to the wall, half fallen. A flat-screen TV played static like some forgotten ghost trying to be heard. She stepped around the corner and froze. A woman sat upright at the kitchen table, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her eyes were open, staring right at Dana, though it was clear she'd been dead for days. Her mouth was sealed shut with duct tape. On the table in front of her, a single Polaroid photograph. Dana didn't touch it yet. She called it in. Unit 14, 10 to 79. I repeat, possible homicide, 72 Cardell. Request immediate backup and coroner. The dispatcher's voice came through thick with tension. Copy that, Unit 14. Backup en route. ETA 4 minutes. Dana stared at the woman. Late 30s. Blonde hair in a ponytail. No visible wounds on the front. The blood trail didn't come from her. Then where? She moved cautiously to the back hallway. Doors lined the hall, 2 on the left, 1 straight ahead. The first was a bedroom, neat, untouched. The second was a child's room, and that's where Dana's breath hitched. The crib was overturned. The mobile above it spun slowly, as if someone had brushed it recently. A stuffed bunny lay on the floor, one eye missing, its white fur soaked red. The walls had crayon drawings, houses, stick figures, a sun with a smiley face, but no child. Jesus, she whispered. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pushed the final door open. The bathroom. The smell hit her hardest here. Inside the tub, wrapped in a gray sheet, was another body, much smaller. Her hand flew to her mouth, but it wasn't a child. It was a man, mid-40s, beaten, strangled. His eyes, too, were open. On the mirror, scrawled in what looked like lipstick, were 5 words. You weren't supposed to look. Dana stepped back, heart pounding. A creak came from the hallway. She spun around, weapon drawn. Police, she shouted. Announce yourself. But the hallway was empty. Then she saw it, the photograph still on the kitchen table. She returned and looked closer this time. It was a picture of the woman with a child. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, smiling, alive. The date on the bottom corner read, 4 days ago. That couldn't be possible. The mother was dead at least 3, and there was no trace of the child. No signs of forced entry. No shattered windows. Whoever did this had keys, or knew how to lock up behind themselves. Dana didn't realize how hard she was shaking until backup arrived and a voice barked over her shoulder. Jesus Christ, Dana. What the hell is this? It was Detective Elijah Kern, the kind of man who wore his experience like body armor. Tired eyes, grizzled jaw, and a voice that could calm panic with a whisper. 2 victims. 1 in the kitchen. 1 in the tub, Dana said, regaining composure. There's a child. I think she's missing. Kern stepped forward and caught the same scent Dana did. Didn't expect this when you signed up for night shift. Huh? No, she said quietly. And Elijah, there's something off. The whole scene feels staged. Kern raised an eyebrow. The woman was posed, hands folded, like someone wanted her to be found that way. He looked around, absorbing the details. And the message in the bathroom? Lipstick. You weren't supposed to look. Kern didn't respond at first. He stared at the Polaroid instead. Then someone wanted her found. But not this early. They both stared at the photo. The child's face, bright, unscarred, seemed to mock the horror around them. Dana broke the silence. What now? Kern straightened. Now we find the girl, alive if we're lucky, and we figure out who planned all this. He turned back to the hallway. And why the hell they left a message for us? Detective Elijah Kern stood in the hallway with arms crossed, jaw clenched. The scent of rot clung to his coat like regret. Officer Dana Holt had retreated to the front porch, visibly shaken, while forensics suited up behind her. The silence inside the house, even with boots scuffling and cameras clicking, felt too heavy, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Kern crouched in front of the Polaroid again. The child in the picture was wearing a unicorn t-shirt, mismatched socks, and an enormous grin. The mother had her arm draped protectively around her. There was no way to look at the photo without feeling the gaping absence of that little girl. He flipped the photo over. On the back, in faint ballpoint ink, "Her name is Lily." He called it in. "Dispatch, I need an Amber Alert initiated. Missing girl, age approximately 5, name Lily, Caucasian, blonde hair, green eyes. Last confirmed sighting 4 days ago. Copy that, Detective Kern. Alerting child services and missing persons." He stood, mind already spinning. Something didn't line up. There were no signs of a struggle where Lily should have been. The crib was overturned, yes, but no blood, no hair, no DNA evidence suggesting she'd been taken violently. No drag marks, no footprints. It was almost as if she had walked out, or had been taken by someone she trusted. Dana stepped back in, her face pale but determined. EMT confirmed the woman's ID. Miranda Jameson, 36, works as a librarian at the Westside branch. No criminal record, no mental health red flags, no reports of domestic issues. What about the man in the tub? They're still trying to get an ID. No wallet, no phone. Just an anchor tattoo on his forearm and defensive wounds. Kern grunted. Sounds like he fought. She didn't. They found a baby monitor too, Dana added. It was unplugged. From the child's room. Where is it? In the evidence bag. But the text said it had a small micro SD slot. Could have stored video. Kern's gaze hardened. Get that pulled. ASAP. The fluorescent lighting in interview room buzzed like an insect. Kern stared across the table at the man who just walked in voluntarily. Jacob Jameson, Miranda's ex-husband. 38, construction worker, 2 DUIs in the last 6 years, but clean since. Red-rimmed eyes, still in his work boots. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Kern wasted no time. When's the last time you saw Miranda? Last week. Tuesday. I dropped Lily off after her dental appointment. His voice cracked. Miranda didn't answer the door. I left Lily with the neighbor like we agreed. She picked her up 10 minutes later. We never spoke. Why? He exhaled. Divorce was messy. She didn't trust me. Said I was impulsive, unstable, maybe I was. But I loved Lily. I'd never hurt either of them. Kern slid the Polaroid across the table. This was taken 4 days ago. You recognize it? Jacob's face crumbled. He touched the photo gently. That's her shirt, he whispered. She wore it on Thursday. I bought it for her birthday last year. Did Miranda send you this photo? No. I haven't heard from her in over a week. Kern leaned in. Jacob, where were you Friday night? At home, alone, watching a basketball game. You got proof of that? Jacob stared at him. No. You think I did this? I think your daughter is missing, your ex-wife is dead, and there's a dead man in her bathtub. You tell me what I should think." Jacob gripped the edge of the table. "I swear to you, if she's out there, I want her found more than you do." Kern studied him for a moment. No twitching, no avoidance, just raw panic. "If you're lying to me, I'll bury you in this station." Jacob nodded slowly. "I get it." Back in the tech lab, the SD card from the baby monitor was decrypted in less than an hour. Kern and Dana sat beside the forensic analyst, watching black and white footage flicker on the screen. The footage was dated 3 days ago. The child, Lily, sat in her crib humming. She seemed happy. Peace. Then the humming stopped. Her eyes widened. She stood up and pointed toward the door. Then she smiled and spoke. "Daddy." Kern froze. Jacob had said he hadn't seen her, but Lily had seen someone, and she called him Daddy. Then the door creaked open, but the monitor cut off. The screen went black. Dana swore under her breath. "That wasn't Jacob's voice," Kern muttered. "It couldn't have been." Her reaction was too calm. She wasn't scared. She was relieved. "She knew him," Dana whispered. Kern stood. "Or thought she did." January 2nd. "Someone's been in the house. I know it. Lily said she saw a man in her room. Said he had my smile. My eyes. But I don't have brothers. My father died when I was 15. I checked all the locks. I'm not crazy." January 5th. "The mail is being tampered with. Letters go missing. Lily says she hears voices in the walls. Last night I heard something on the baby monitor. Breathing. But Lily was fast asleep." January 6th. "I called the police. They didn't believe me. Said no signs of forced entry. Told me to sleep with a bat. They don't understand. He's already inside." Detective Kern was back at his desk before the sun had fully risen. Coffee in one hand, Miranda's journal in the other. His brain itched with something he couldn't quite reach. A name, a memory, a thread not yet pulled. He flipped open the last page again. "He's already inside." 3 words, but they felt like a scream. Kern had seen paranoid delusions in domestic cases before, but this didn't feel like that. This wasn't a woman spiraling into madness. This was a woman who knew she was being watched and wasn't being believed. Around 9:15 a.m., forensics called with a hit on the man in the tub. His fingerprints matched a John Matthews, 47, former psychiatric patient at Haverhill State Mental Hospital, closed down 8 years ago after allegations of mistreatment and abuse. Kern's pulse quickened. Matthews had been admitted in 2005, diagnosed with borderline schizophrenia, known for delusions and severe dissociation. But that wasn't the detail that made the detective's skin crawl. It was his emergency contact at the time of admission. Miranda Jameson, not his wife, not his sister, just listed family. "Pull everything you can on Matthews," Kern told Dana. "Friends, neighbors, treatment files, and call Haverhill. Someone there might still be willing to talk." Dana frowned. "You think Miranda knew him well?" "I think she forgot he existed. They tracked down a former Haverhill nurse by midday, retired, living just outside the city. When Kern and Dana visited her, she opened the door like she'd been expecting them. "You hear about John?" she asked, voice brittle with age. Kern nodded. "Did he ever mention Miranda Jameson?" The nurse closed her eyes slowly. "Not mention. Obsess. Explain. Back then, we didn't ask too many questions. He was calm when he talked about her. Kept calling her his little sister. But his records said they weren't related. It was off. He had photos, newspaper clippings. He wrote her letters, hundreds. Said she was taken away. Claimed she was adopted and didn't remember him." Dana froze. "Wait, are you saying they might have actually been siblings?" The old woman shrugged. "I think so. Something about it felt real. But he never got visitors. No one ever came for him. It was like the system forgot he existed." Kern felt a cold realization settle in his chest. What if Miranda had been adopted as a child and never knew she had a brother? What if John Matthews hadn't forgotten her? What if he'd spent 20 years watching her life from the shadows, planning a reunion she never wanted? Back at the station, a tech had boosted the final seconds of the monitor footage. It revealed something missed before. Not just Lily's voice, but the faint whisper of another. Just before the monitor cut off, the voice said, "Let's go, Angel. Your mommy's tired." Dana shivered. That's not something a stranger says. Kern stood, staring out the precinct window. He believed she was his family. He thought Lily was his blood too. A new start, a second chance. And he believed Miranda was standing in the way. Dana murmured. He didn't want to kill her. He wanted to replace her. Following the mental hospital clue, Kern requested a trace on any locations John Matthews might have had ties to. A single hit came back. A rented storage unit under an alias, paid in cash for the last 14 months. Unit number 117, under the name George S. Lyle. No address, no phone, only payments made every first Monday of the month. Kern and Dana drove out to the facility just after dark. The manager gave a hesitant nod when Kern flashed his badge. That one? We've had complaints. Weird smells. Thought it was rats. The padlock came off with a loud snap. The metal door rolled upward, and they both took a step back. The space wasn't just storage. It was a shrine. Dozens of photographs lined the walls. All of Miranda. Some from 20 years ago. Others taken from behind bushes, through windows, even from inside her house. Her routines were mapped out in chalk, pins connecting calendar dates, routines, lunch breaks. At the center was a hand-painted sign. Family Reunited, 2025. Dana covered her mouth. He planned this. But then Kern spotted something else. A mattress. A child's mattress. Crayon drawings taped to the wall. A stuffed unicorn. Recently eaten cereal. A small red shoe. "Oh my God," Dana whispered. He had her here. Kern's phone buzzed. It was the forensic analyst again. "We cracked John's old burner. Found location pings from a tower near East Dock Road. Some regular activity. The last ping was 2 days ago." Kern narrowed his eyes. "There's nothing out there except the old Haverhill tunnel system." Dana paled. "That place is condemned." "Exactly," Kern muttered, "which makes it perfect." They reached the tunnels by 11 p.m. Kern and Dana moved carefully, flashlights cutting thin beams through the thick, stale air. The walls were covered in graffiti and the remnants of squatters. Rats scurried through waterlogged debris. About 20 minutes in, they heard it. A laugh, high-pitched, soft, childlike. They stopped cold. "Lily," Dana called out, voice tight. Silence. Then another sound, not a laugh this time, but singing. A lullaby, off-key, low. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Kern's heart pounded. He motioned for Dana to flank the left wall as he edged forward. There, in a side chamber, they saw her, Lily, sitting cross-legged on a pile of blankets. Her clothes were dirty, her hair a mess, but her eyes were wide, alive. Next to her was John Matthews, dead. He'd stabbed himself in the neck, blood pooling beneath him. His face turned toward the girl like he was still guarding her. His final act, not escape, but surrender. And on the wall behind him, scrawled in dried blood, were the words, "Safe now, just us." Dana rushed in and scooped Lily into her arms. The little girl didn't scream, didn't cry. She just whispered. "Uncle John said Mommy's in the stars now." Kern exhaled sharply, heart aching. "She is," he said softly. "And she sent us to find you." The next morning, the headlines screamed, "City's darkest case. Missing girl found in abandoned tunnels. Mother and 2 men dead in apparent abduction obsession case." Detective Elijah Kern turned off the television. The story had gone viral, but it didn't sit right with him. Yes, the girl was found. Yes, the abductor was dead. But there was something deeper that no headline could explain. Why didn't Miranda remember her brother? And more haunting, why didn't the system protect her? Kern and Dana sat through a tense meeting with Child Services, a family court liaison, and Jacob Jameson, Lily's father. The man looked like he hadn't eaten in days, his face pale, hands trembling. "She's traumatized," the CPS worker said. "She needs structure, therapy, and the least amount of disruption." Jacob nodded. "She belongs with me. I'm her father." "She also hasn't seen you in nearly 2 weeks," Dana reminded gently. "And she's been through something most adults wouldn't survive." "I'll do whatever it takes," Jacob whispered. "Just let her come home." Kern studied him. Broken but not dangerous. The system had failed Miranda. Maybe it owed her daughter something better. 2 days later, Kern received permission to visit Lily at the care center. Dana joined him, holding a small stuffed bunny they'd found in the storage unit. The stitched eye had been repaired. Lily sat by the window coloring. When she saw the bunny, she smiled. "That's Hopper," she said quietly. "Uncle John said Mommy gave him to me." Kern crouched beside her. "Do you remember what else Uncle John told you?" She nodded slowly. "He said we were gonna live in the tunnels forever. Just us. No bad people. No yelling." Dana softened her voice. "Did he ever hurt you?" Lily looked up. "No, but he cried a lot. And he said my mommy didn't remember him. That she was taken." "Taken?" Kern asked gently. "Like by other people. Like someone changed her name." Kern froze. There it was again. That night, Kern requested sealed adoption records for Miranda Lee Barnes, the birth name they found tied to a short-lived foster file in 1990. The documents were brittle, scanned from microfilm. But there it was. Sibling listed Jonathan Barnes. Separated after a domestic abuse case in 1991. Mother unfit. Father incarcerated. Children split into different care homes. Miranda adopted by the Jamesons. John wasn't. He had bounced through 14 placements. No adoption. No reunification. Just foster home after foster home. Then juvenile detention. Then Haverhill. No wonder Miranda didn't remember. She'd been too young when they were separated. And no one told her she had a brother still alive. He wasn't erased by accident. He was erased by a broken system. Kern sat alone in his office long after everyone had gone home. His official report had to be clear and factual. Miranda Jameson, victim of a targeted, obsessive abduction plan. John Matthews, aka Jonathan Barnes, biological brother, mentally ill, fixated on a lost sibling and her child. Lily Jameson, rescued, physically unharmed, but emotionally imprinted by a protector figure. The third victim, still no confirmed identity, dental records pending, possibly an accomplice or a home intruder who got in John's way. But the unofficial truth gnawed at Kern. John hadn't kidnapped Lily for power. He'd kidnapped her because he thought she was his family's second chance. The stuffed animals, the cereal, the drawings, they weren't for control. They were for comfort, twisted, delusional, but terrifyingly human. A week later, a shocking update hit the case. The man in the bathtub, initially presumed to be an intruder, was identified as Anthony Fields, a licensed social worker. His connection: he'd once been the caseworker assigned to Miranda's foster file. Fired in 2001 after multiple complaints. Kern requested internal memos, and what he saw chilled him. Fields had blocked several early inquiries into sibling reunification. He had rerouted Miranda's paperwork, pushed John into extended institutionalization. He made sure they never reconnected. Dana was the first to say it. What if John didn't kill him out of rage, but revenge? Kern revisited the storage unit once more. He felt he owed John something. Not sympathy, but truth. On the back wall, tucked behind the child's drawings, he found one last message. A note in a childlike scrawl, taped with care. "She was my light too, but they blew out the candles before I ever got to see." Lily lived with Jacob now, in a modest home outside the city. She had nightmares, yes, and asked for her mommy often. But she laughed again. She rode her bike. She made new drawings that didn't always include tunnels. Kern visited her once, quietly, off duty. She handed him a crayon picture. It showed 3 people, a tall man, a woman, a little girl, and standing behind them, in shadow but smiling, was another man, drawn in gray. "Who's that?" he asked. She pointed. "That's Uncle John. He said he's watching." Kern knelt and smiled, pain tucked behind his eyes. "Well," he said, "maybe this time someone's watching him too." The court of public opinion lit its torches before the legal one ever convened. Talk shows, podcasts, and newspaper columns ignited with outrage. How does a mentally ill man slip through the system for decades? Why did the police ignore Miranda's early calls? Did Child Services allow this tragedy by burying red flags? Within weeks, the mayor called for a formal inquiry. Internal Affairs audited past CPS records and juvenile court files going back 25 years. Kern sat through 6 depositions. Each one left him more exhausted than the last. He didn't need a report to tell him what had happened. The system had not failed. It had functioned exactly as it was built. It moved the broken through it like ghosts, until one of them decided to stop being invisible. 3 months into recovery, Lily's therapist reported something important. She wasn't just remembering details. She was recalling secrets. During a session, she drew a picture of her mother, lying on the kitchen floor. But beside her was not just Uncle John. It was another man. "The man with the ring," she said. He yelled, "Mommy told me to hide." The therapist asked what kind of ring. "He had a big gold one, like a lion." Kern's chest clenched when he heard that. It wasn't John. John had no jewelry, nothing flashy. He lived like a shadow. But there was someone else in Miranda's past who wore a lion's head ring. Lance Devers, her former boyfriend. Lance had disappeared 2 years ago after domestic abuse charges. A known grifter, small-time thief, and emotionally manipulative predator. The charges were dropped. Miranda refused to testify. Kern reopened the search and pulled his last known cell phone record. No calls for 18 months, but now he was missing again, until one pinged from a number later identified as John Matthews Burner. Dana stared at the file. "Are you saying John didn't kill Miranda? I think John found her dead." "Then who did it?" Kern exhaled. "Someone she was afraid of. Someone she hid from." It all came together in a way no one expected. A burned car was discovered in the woods north of town. Inside, DNA matching Lance Devers. Forensic analysis placed the time of death 2 days before the 911 call that sent Dana to Miranda's house. The kicker? The car had been set on fire using kerosene and matchbooks from a diner John frequented. John hadn't just killed Fields, the social worker who separated him from his sister. He killed Devers too, and he cleaned it up like a professional. Then staged Miranda's body like a farewell. Calm, controlled, final. He'd created a tragic portrait, not just of madness, but of vengeance. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who came home too late to stop the nightmare, and chose to end it the only way he knew how. Few months later, Lily was officially placed in her father's custody, with biweekly therapy and a full-time counselor. She no longer asked for her mother every night. Sometimes, she drew stars in the sky and whispered, "She's watching now." She said she's not scared anymore. Kern and Dana received departmental commendations, though both quietly declined any press. The file on Miranda Jameson's case sat in Kern's drawer, marked closed, but he reread it sometimes. And when he did, he didn't look at the crime photos. He looked at Lily's drawing, the family, the gray figure in the back. Uncle John, a shadow, a protector, a man who'd never been seen until he made the world look. The final journal entry, reconstructed from Miranda's phone notes, January 7th, 1:42 a.m. "I heard him again tonight. He didn't say anything cruel, just stood in the hallway, watching Lily sleep. I think he's the man from the photo albums, the one I used to dream about. I think he's my brother. If something happens to me, please take care of her. Don't make her invisible. Let her be seen." Welfare check turns into city's darkest case yet, closes with a haunting but hopeful tone. Justice partially served, pain still fresh. but the cycle of invisibility finally broken. What if a simple welfare check uncovered not just a crime, but a decades-old secret the city buried and forgot? If this story kept you on edge, don't just scroll past. Brain, let us know what you would have done if you were Officer Dana or Detective Kern. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Red Heart, if stories like this grab you by the gut, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because more intense, true-to-life thrillers are coming your way. Detective, and remember, the scariest stories aren't the ones we invent. They're the ones that could happen on your street tonight.